Dear seekers in the divine, today's topic for sharing is the hurdles, are the hurdles on the spiritual path. What are the hurdles? A lot of seekers and devotees have many questions and they find that progress on the path of spirituality is sometimes hindered. And they say, we've been trying for so many years, but it's not working. And they go to all the gurus to seek guidance. The teachings of Ramana Maharshi are the highest of teachings. But the hurdles when one is pursuing that path appear to be real. The hindrances are there, the hurdles appear to be there. Phenomenal as they may be, they appear to be real. So, how to surpass and counter these notional hurdles? The biggest and one of the foremost formidable hurdles on the path of the seeker and the path of the devotee is self-forgetfulness. Forgetting your true nature, that you are that pure self. One listens to topics of discussion on the spiritual path, listens to lectures on the scriptures, listens to a lot of talks and pravachans by gurus and teachers, and then revels in that glory of listening to that because one understands it intellectually and loves it. But the moment one steps outside after the talk or the discussion and goes out into the world, the mind starts actioning itself into the outward mode, outgoing mode, and then self-forgetfulness takes place. One goes back into the same old cycle of like, dislike, love, hate, suffering, joy, etc., etc., etc. This process is a process that creates more and more, as it were, vasanas, and provides the impetus for that, again, the notional karmic process. How does one counter that, is the question. The self-forgetfulness part of it. The most important tool that one can use is to have that intensity of seeking, the wanting, the intense desire to find out the truth. Whether one calls it God realization, whether one calls it self-realization, or whatever name can be given to it, makes no difference. The path which is a pathless path essentially, has to be traversed through the intensity of desire to be desireless. And that is the truth. That is the most important tool. But to counter the mind that is outgoing all the time, to control the mind, as it were, there have to be certain techniques that have to be used. In the scriptures, there have been four major paths that have been provided. One is the path of action, which is Karma Yoga, which enumerates the path where one does service, giving up of oneself for others without the sense of ego, which is very hard to start off with. But one has to work on that, where there is selfless giving. That is the first path. The second path is the path of Raj Yoga. The Patanjali Yoga Sutras, eightfold path. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. There's a process. It's a very, very structured pathway. The third path is the path of devotion, path of love, where one seeks the love of that Supreme in the form of whatever one likes or loves. It could be any idol, whether it could be Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Devi, Ganesha, Christ, Buddha, whatever it may be. The important thing is the devotion that has to be there. And that bhav. Bhav is that loosely put. It's a very poor translation, but in the English language, it is faith. That bhav and that faith, that shraddha they call it, that shraddha is something that is so intense that bhava comes through as completely giving up of oneself unto that Supreme, where that phantasmical ego, I, as it were, dissolves itself at the feet of that Supreme whom you adore. When that happens, the I disappears, because you are no more there as that I, me, myself. When that dissolution happens, the revelation of truth automatically is revealed. And then you have the path of inquiry, Jnana Yoga, where one inquires into the self to find out who am I. With that same intensity of desire to be desirelessness, to be desireless. And then when that questioning and that inquiry happens, the outgoing mind that is going outward dissolves into that source. Revelation too happens when that intensity is strong. All these paths that are there are only tools on the path. The intensity and the wanting has to be so strong that that pure self dissolves that mythical notional I, which was only a thought in consciousness, which is a thought in consciousness. Because that self is this universe as well, revealing itself as you in you. So one is none other than that supreme reality, that pure consciousness. This has to be not just understood intellectually, verbally, but through the clarity of dissolution of that ego. Which is non-existent in any case. It is like removing the dirt which is clouding the mirror to see oneself as one truly is. Because the dirt is covering it. One can't see oneself. When that dirt is removed, truth is revealed. This is the biggest tool that one can use, the intensity of desire. It's called mumukshatva. That shraddha has to be there. That loosely put is called faith. And that bhav, that love, that absolute love for that supreme, that purity of intention. That purity of intention is so important. That self-forgetfulness is not there anymore. Then it goes beyond the concept of the space-time continuum. Because that space-time continuum, the universe, and that pure absolute self are one and the same. So whatever path one chooses, whether it be the path of action, karma yoga, or whether it be the Raj Yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, or whether one uses Bhakti Yoga, or whether one uses the path of love, and one uses the path of inquiry, Jnana Yoga, it matters not. One can use all four in combined as a yoga of synthesis, as Swami Shivananda of the Divine Life Society used to teach. Yoga of synthesis. Synthesize everything into that, so that that entire being is transformed and rejuvenated to energize the spiritual batteries within the devotee and the seeker, to completely vanquish and dissolve this notional ego, to reveal that pure self. which you already are, here and now. Let this be the moment right here and now that the seeker surges forward with that intensity to leave aside self-forgetfulness, which will just vanish, because every moment one will be aware in pure consciousness, as pure consciousness, as self. As there is a saying which goes, the drop of water and the ocean are one and the same, but the ocean also is in reality within that drop. So truth is that the changing and the changeless, the drop and that ocean, are nothing else but water. Pure self, eternal, ever existent, Parabrahma Tattva. Let this truth be revealed in the clarity of understanding to dissolve this phantasmical ego here and now. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.